Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. It's called bloodline healing. Have you ever felt like you were stuck? Like you were repeating the same patterns over and over and you just couldn't break free? Maybe it's not just you. Maybe it's like your great-grandmother's bad luck with relationships. Or maybe it's your uncle's tendency to just blow all his money. Echoing down through the generations. Well, luckily, we've got an expert here to help us unpack all of this.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating area. It's all about addressing this negative energy or negative patterns that gets passed down through the generations, inherited from our ancestors. You can almost think of it like inheriting your family's nose. But instead of a physical trait, it's more like a tendency towards anxiety or a pattern of always attracting the same kind of unhealthy relationship.
So we're talking about actual energy, like vibes, passed down from our ancestors. And that can actually influence our lives today.
Exactly. It suggests that our ancestors, whether they're living or has passed on, can have a real impact on our lives. Their emotions, their beliefs, their experiences, especially the traumatic ones, can actually shape our own, often without us even realizing it's happening. It's like an echo reverberating through time.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So how would this ancestral energy actually manifest in our lives? What would it look like?
We can think of recurring behaviors, relationship struggles, even problems with health or money. For example, let's say someone in your family line struggled with addiction. That could manifest as you having addictive tendencies yourself. Or you might constantly find yourself attracted to partners who struggle with addiction.
So it's not just about inheriting grandma's blue eyes. It's about inheriting these more subtle, energetic patterns that could be impacting our lives in ways we don't even realize.
Exactly. And it's not always negative either. Sometimes it can be positive, like maybe inheriting a strong work ethic or a talent for music. But in the context of bloodline healing, we're mainly focusing on those negative patterns that can hold us back.
Okay, so now I'm thinking about all those frustrating patterns in my own life, like how I can never seem to keep my desk clean. Are there any red flags? Any signs that someone might be dealing with this ancestral baggage?
Well, there are some common signs to look out for. Feeling stuck in life, experiencing unexplained anxiety or depression, having a really hard time forming healthy relationships, or constantly facing setbacks despite your best efforts. These can all be indicators that there's some ancestral influence at play.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's important to note, though, that these are just examples. It's not a diagnosis. Just a good starting point for some deeper self-reflection. If any of this is resonating with you, then it's definitely worth exploring further.
Absolutely. And that's really where the whole idea of bloodline healing comes in. It offers a way to address these inherited patterns and traumas and to finally break free from those unseen forces that might be holding you back. It's about taking back control of your life and creating a brighter future, not just for yourself, but for generations to come.
Now, that is incredibly empowering. But how exactly do we go about this healing? What techniques are we talking about here?
Well, there's not just one single technique. It usually involves a combination of different approaches, like meditation, visualization, energy healing, and even something called ancestral communication.
Ancestral communication. Now, that's where it gets really interesting. We're talking about actually communicating with our ancestors.
Yes, it might sound a little spooky at first, but it's not about summoning spirits or anything like that. It's more about connecting with them on an energetic level, tapping into their wisdom, seeking their guidance, and even offering them forgiveness or healing.
So if I'm picturing my great-grandmother in my mind, for example, am I literally talking to her? Or is it more about connecting with her energy and receiving insights?
It can actually be both. Some people experience it as a very clear two-way conversation, while others might describe it as a more subtle feeling of connection or knowing. It really depends on your own individual sensitivity and how you approach the practice.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. This is way deeper than I initially imagined. I can't wait to hear more about these techniques. Okay, so let's jump back into this fascinating world of bloodline healing. Yeah. You mentioned meditation, visualization, energy healing, and ancestral communication. Where do we even begin?
Well, meditation is often a good place to start. It helps you quiet the mind and create that space to connect with those ancestral energies. Imagine yourself in a peaceful setting, maybe surrounded by nature, as you breathe deeply. Just visualize your family tree going back generations. See your parents, your grandparents, great-grandparents, and beyond. It's almost like you're creating a pathway for communication.
So it's not just about emptying your mind, but actively visualizing your lineage, creating that bridge between you and your ancestors.
Exactly. And once you feel that sense of connection, You can start to communicate. You can simply express gratitude for their presence in your life, ask for their guidance, or even just offer them healing energy. It's all about creating a harmonious relationship with your lineage.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about visualization? You mentioned that earlier as well.
Yeah, visualization goes hand in hand with meditation. It's about using your imagination to really connect with your ancestors. You might visualize a specific ancestor, maybe someone you've always felt drawn to, and imagine having a conversation with them. You could ask them about their life, their challenges, their triumphs.
Like stepping into their shoes for a little bit, getting a glimpse of their world.
Exactly. And as you do this, you might start to uncover some of those patterns, beliefs, or even traumas that have been passed down through generations. You might even see how those patterns are showing up in your own life.
Okay, now I'm really curious about this energy healing thing. You mentioned Reiki and quantum healing.
Right. Well, these techniques work with the subtle energy systems of the body to release blockages and promote healing. Reiki, for example, uses gentle touch to channel universal life force energy, to promote balance and well-being. It's kind of like clearing out the static in your energy field.
So it's not about like physically manipulating the body, but working with these unseen energies. That might be carrying those ancestral imprints.
Exactly. Quantum healing, on the other hand, is a little more complex. It delves into the world of quantum physics, using focused intention and energy to shift patterns. At a cellular level, it's all about tapping into that inherent healing power within ourselves and our lineage, to release those really deep-seated patterns that might be holding us back.
Well, it's like hitting the reset button on those inherited energetic patterns.
Exactly. And then there's ancestral communication, which can involve all sorts of practices, like creating an ancestral altar, offering prayers or libations, or even just having a conversation with your ancestors in your mind.
Okay, this ancestral communication thing is still blowing my mind. How does that even work? Am I really talking to my great-great-grandmother's spirit?
Think of it like a two-way conversation. You're opening yourself up to receive their guidance and wisdom, and you're also sending them love and healing energy. It's about creating that harmonious relationship with your lineage.
So it's not about like summoning spirits or anything creepy like that. More about energetic connection and communication.
Exactly. It's a respectful and loving exchange. That can lead to some pretty profound healing and understanding. And it can take many forms. Some people experience it as a very clear two-way conversation, while others might describe it as a more subtle feeling of connection or knowing.
So it's not just about receiving information, but also about sending healing energy to our ancestors.
Right. It's like, imagine your ancestors as part of your extended family, even though they may not be physically present anymore, just like you might want to help a living family member who's struggling. You can also offer that support and healing energy to your ancestors.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging their presence in our lives and recognizing that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all part of this vast web of interconnectedness, like a tapestry woven together by the threads of our ancestors' lives. And by healing those threads, we heal ourselves, and we contribute to the healing of our entire lineage.
Wow, this is heavy stuff. But it's also incredibly empowering. It's like we have the power to actually change the course of our lives by addressing these deep-rooted ancestral influences.
And that's the beauty of bloodline healing. It's about taking ownership of your destiny and creating a brighter future, not just for yourself, but for generations to come.
That's a really powerful thought. It's like we're breaking free from those chains of the past and forging a new path.
Yeah.
For ourselves and our descendants. But I have to ask, is there any scientific evidence to back up this whole bloodline healing thing, or is it purely spiritual?
Well, that's a very common question. And while there is some growing interest in the scientific community about the impact of epigenetics, which looks at how environmental factors can influence gene expression, it's still a relatively new field. There's no concrete proof yet. But the possibility is definitely intriguing.
So no definitive scientific validation. But there's enough anecdotal evidence and personal experiences to suggest that there's something to this. What would you say to someone who's skeptical? Someone who thinks this is all just a bunch of hocus pocus?
I just encourage them to approach it with an open mind and a willingness to explore. After all, many ancient cultures have practiced ancestral veneration for centuries, believing in that interconnectedness between past, present, and future generations. And even if someone doesn't fully buy into the spiritual aspect, there's still value in exploring their family history, understanding their ancestors' experiences, and recognizing those recurring patterns that might be showing up in their own lives. It's about self-discovery, gaining a deeper understanding of yourself, and ultimately taking control of your own life. Remember, knowledge is power.
I love that. So Where do we go from here? If someone is interested in this whole bloodline healing thing, what are some first steps they can take?
Well, I think the first step is self-reflection. Start by paying attention to those recurring patterns or challenges in your life. Ask yourself, is there anything that seems to repeat itself, generation after generation in your family? Look for those clues, those echoes of the past that might be influencing the present. Then you can start exploring different ways of connecting with your ancestors, meditation, journaling, researching your family history. These are all great places to start.
And if someone wants to take it a step further, they could seek out a practitioner who specializes in ancestral healing or energy work.
That's definitely a good option for those who feel drawn to those modalities. Remember, it's about finding what resonates with you and your own personal beliefs. But ultimately, the most important thing is to approach this journey with an open heart, a curious mind, and a willingness to explore the depths of your own lineage.
This has been an incredible deep dive, and I'm sure our listener is ready to start exploring this fascinating world of bloodline healing. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure we bring it all back to the individual. What's the ultimate takeaway? What's the one thing you want our listener to remember from this deep dive?
The key takeaway is this: your past doesn't have to define you. You have the power to heal those ancestral wounds, break free from those limiting patterns, and create a brighter future, not just for yourself, but for generations to come. It's about embracing our lineage while also recognizing that we have the power to shape our own destiny. We're not just living our own lives, we're carrying the stories and experiences of our ancestors within us. And by acknowledging and honoring those stories, we can start to heal those wounds and create a more harmonious future.
So what does this all mean for our listener? What's the one question they should be asking themselves as they continue on their own journey of self-discovery?
The question I would leave them with is this: what legacy do you want to leave behind? What gifts do you want to pass down to future generations? Because by healing your own ancestral wounds, you're not just creating a brighter future for yourself, you're creating a ripple effect of positive change that can impact generations to come.
It's a powerful call to action. It's not just about us. It's about the future we're creating for those who come after us. Like, we're all part of this grand, interconnected web of life. And by tending to our own threads, we contribute to the healing of the whole tapestry. By healing ourselves, we heal our families, our communities, and ultimately the world. So it's not just about uncovering the past, but about consciously creating a better future, both for ourselves and for the generations that follow.
Exactly. And remember, bloodline healing isn't a quick fix. It's a journey, a process of self-discovery and transformation. It's about peeling back those layers, uncovering those hidden stories, and ultimately embracing our full selves.
And it's a journey worth taking. Because by healing our past, we create a brighter future, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. Who knows, you might even discover a hidden strength or talent that's been passed down through your family line, just waiting to be awakened.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like we're not just living our own lives, but carrying the stories and experiences of our ancestors within us. And by acknowledging and honoring those stories, we can start to heal those wounds and create a more harmonious future.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding the influence of our ancestors to exploring the techniques for healing those inherited patterns. I don't know about you, but my mind is officially blown. So listener, take some time to reflect on your own lineage. Explore those ancestral connections and see what wisdom and healing you can uncover. And remember, the past isn't always past. It lives within us, shaping our lives in ways we might not even realize. But by understanding and healing those ancestral influences, we can break free from those limiting patterns and create a brighter future, both for ourselves and for the generations to come. Keep exploring. There's a whole world of ancestral wisdom waiting to be uncovered. Who knows what you might discover about yourself and your family? Until next time, happy diving. That's a great question. I think the one question we should all be asking ourselves is, what legacy do we want to leave behind? What gifts do we want to pass down to future generations? When we heal our own ancestral wounds, we're not just creating a brighter future for ourselves, we're actually creating a ripple effect. A ripple effect of positive change that can impact generations to come.
Yeah, it's a powerful call to action, isn't it? It's not just about us. It's about the future that we're creating for the people who come after us. It's like we're all part of this huge interconnected web of life. And when we tend to our own threads, we're helping to heal the whole tapestry. By healing ourselves, we heal our families, we heal our communities, and ultimately, we heal the world.
So it's not just about uncovering the past. It's about consciously creating a better future for ourselves and for the generations that follow.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that bloodline healing, it's not a quick fix. It's a journey, a process of self-discovery and transformation. It's about peeling back the layers, uncovering those hidden stories, and ultimately embracing our full selves.
And it's a journey worth taking, because by healing our past, we create a brighter future, not just for ourselves, but for the generations to come. Who knows, you might even discover some hidden strength or some hidden talent that's been passed down through your family, just waiting to be awakened.
That's a beautiful thought. It really is like we're carrying the stories of our ancestors inside us. And by honoring those stories, we can begin to heal and create a more harmonious future.
We've covered a lot today. We've talked about the influence of our ancestors. We've explored all these different techniques for healing. Honestly, my mind is blown. So to our listeners out there, take some time to think about your own family history. Explore those connections to your ancestors and see what you can discover. Remember, the past isn't always past. It shapes us in ways we don't even realize. But by understanding and healing, we can break free from the patterns that are holding us back and step into a brighter future for ourselves and for generations to come. Keep exploring. There's a whole world of ancestral wisdom out there just waiting to be discovered. Until next time, happy diving.